an Irene Morgan Kecaldi. And that's a photo here. Irene Morgan Kecaldi. In fact, Irene was born, Irene Amos Morgan, on the 9th of April, 1917. In fact, 8 years after Kwame Nkrumah was born. And she died on the 10th of August, 2007. My brother, my sister, later in life, she changed her name from Irene Amos Morgan to Irene Morgan Kecaldi. She was an African-American woman, my brother, my sister, who was born and bred in Baltimore in Maryland, America. My brother, my sister, she was born on the 9th of April, 1917. And she went to local schools in Baltimore. She was raised as a Seventh-day Adventist. In fact, whilst going to school, she was so interested in black activism. Even though an SDA member, she was so involved in the black activities. My brother, my sister, she married Sherwood Morgan Sr. and had a son and daughter with him. Her husband died in 1948, very early. Now, during the Second World War, she helped the war effort by working at Glenn L. Martin, an aircraft manufacturer and defense contractor in Baltimore. She worked on the production line for the B-26 Marauder. And when we talk about the B-26 Marauder, what are we talking about? It's an American twin-engined medium bomber that saw extensive service during the Second World War. My brother, my sister, it was one of its kind to aid with the war. After her husband died, she got married to Stanley Kecaldi, and therefore her name changed, my brother, my sister, from Irene Amos Morgan to Irene Morgan Kecaldi. My brother, my sister. Now, when she got remarried, she lived with him in New York City. They ran a dry cleaning business and a child care center near where they lived in Queens, a place that I know very well. In her 60s, our heroine for today, Kecaldi, started college studies, attending St. John's University in New York City. She received her bachelor's degree when she was 68 years old. Can you believe that? And you look at the photograph here, that is her, of course, with her pet, Irene Morgan Kecaldi. She got her first degree at the age of almost 70. Can you believe that? 68 years old. 5 years later, she earned a master's degree in urban studies at the age of 73. She proved to the old world that yes, it's not too late to grab a degree. It's a big pedigree. Now listen to this. Now why we are talking about this great black woman today includes this thing. In fact, she was just dealing with a miscarriage. She got married and then she miscarried the pregnancy. She was visiting her mother in Gloucester County in Virginia, to physically and mentally recover from the ordeal. She was going to the countryside, staying away from the noise of the city, hoping to go back home so she could continue working on the production line for the B-26 Marauder. She boarded a Greyhound. The Greyhound is like Tata Bus in Ghana. It's like Ayalolo in Ghana and any other government-owned transport system like the STC. My brother, my sister, she boarded the Greyhound to return to Baltimore after she had visited her mother. On July 16, 1944, Morgan boarded the Greyhound bus and sat down next to another African-American woman who was carrying an infant. An American, but an African is an African-American, could not sit next to or across from a Caucasian passenger, a white passenger. But there were no designated black or white seats on the bus, so she went to sit on one of them. Then a white couple boarded the bus at a stop in Middlesex County in Virginia. The bus driver ordered our heroine for today, Irene, and her seatmate carrying the infant to leave the seats and surrender them for the white people to come and sit on. She looked at them and refused. Her seatmate immediately retreated to the back seat, but she decided that she would not move. My brother, my sister, because she refused not to move, the bus driver got off the bus to find a sheriff, that's a policeman. The police presented Morgan with an arrest warrant, but she tore it up. She took the piece of paper from the police, tore it up, and stepped on it and spat on it twice in front of the sheriff. The sheriff got angry. When he got angry, he decided to pull her out of the seat and kicked her in her groin. She was just recovering from a miscarriage. The sheriff got off the bus and a different sheriff was sent in. And according to Irene, she said, he touched me. That's when I kicked him in a very bad place. And you know the bad place? His balls. She kicked the sheriff in his balls. He wobbled off and another sheriff came on. I was going to bite him, but he looked dirty, so I refused to bite a dirty sheriff. So I clawed him with my fingers instead. He ripped his shirt open as I had already ripped it off, so he took it off himself. We were both pulling at each other. He said he would use his ninth stick. I said we will whip each other. The second sheriff got off the bus to grab the deputy, and they ended up pulling her off the bus and taking her into custody. My brother, my sister, on October 18, 1944, Irene attended a first court case. She agreed to pay $100, a fine for resisting arrest, but refused to plead to the segregation violation. While Maryland did not enforce segregation for interstate travel, Virginia's Jim Crow law could possibly not apply to Morgan. Morgan's case, with the help of the NAACP, was taken to the Virginia Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled her in violation of the law. Morgan then took her case to the U.S. Supreme Court, where she won. My brother, my sister, this young lady decided to stand for her rights. Today, if we are able to sit in buses, black and white together, is because of some of these resistance that these wonderful women, bold enough to fight the police over segregation, did. Today we remember this great black woman. We remember how she stood firm to fight for her race and to insist that we are all human. Irene Morgan was a lifelong member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She never left it. She died in Gloucester, Virginia on August 10, 2007 at her daughter's home at the age of 90 from complications of Alzheimer's disease. Her funeral was at the Gloucester High School. So many accolades and honors came after her. In 2001, President Bill Clinton awarded her the Presidential Citizens Medal. In 2000, Morgan Kicaldi was honored by the Gloucester County, Virginia. In fact, during a 350th anniversary celebration. My brother, my sister, In 1995, the Robin Washington produced the documentary You Don't Have to Ride, Jim Crow, and it aired on several TV stations and networks. My brother, my sister, today we remember this great black woman. And all we want to say is thank you so much for standing for who you are and who you would always be. We thank you for fighting for black people. And today we sit in buses comfortably, having fought Jim Crow laws very, 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 very powerfully. In the burden of knowledge, I ask you, now that you know the story of Irene Morgan Kikaldi, originally called Irene Amos Morgan, what would you do? Biyanani ole mini obafe yezuda kagane mezaka yini ye ampa bango bokaya nang fifia ye nyanu kaina wo bana ye webe den lele anjima singa be kunne lele anjima singa beeri. It's been the African history class, and we doff our hearts for this great black woman who went through thick and thin in order to fight for black people. She refused to stand from a seat. She was harassed by the sheriff, the police. She kicked the police in his balls, and he fell down, sprawling on the ground, screaming. Another sheriff had to be called on, and when he came on, she said she wanted to bite him, but his skin was so dirty. Therefore, she decided to rip off his shirt. She was hauled off the bus and taken into custody, prison custody, where she had to attend court from. She won her case after she was found guilty in the first sitting. The Supreme Court, aided by the NAACP, in fact, exonerated her and set her free. My brother, my sister, she was the game changer.
The emperor, the conqueror, the champion, the lion is here. Hey!